Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. 3, 2, 1. Test. 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 Testing, testing, testing. Testing. Morning, Dan. Morning, Jane. Morning, everybody. Morning, Maxine. That's a bit better. Yes. Thanks. I have to keep my mouth very close to it, though. And I'm used to doing this. And what happens is if I get more than an inch or so away from it, you can't hear me. So apologies if in advance if I do that. Okay. So today is about the meditation course. Morning, Judith. Morning, Sophie, Jill. Just turn off WhatsApp. Yeah. So today is about the meditation course. So the quick potted history of how I got here is that I actually started recording my classes back in the day, and then I set up a podcast in 2018, which I called More Than Just Mindfulness. It's already gone through one rebranding, which is, this is an interesting thing happening here. I think it is about, let me just change the brightness and alter that. There we go, that should be a bit better. Yeah, so history of this is 2018 I set up the More Than Just Mindfulness podcast, which recently became just a sec. I think what you'll probably find, Sophie, is that your system is lagging a bit for one reason or another, and that I'll come back online. Yeah. So I began podcasting in 2018. In 2019, I decided that it would probably be a good idea to set up some online classes. And that's exactly what I did. So I kind of got in a bit early, and I chose the name of 2020 Meditation. The main reason for that was I wanted to differentiate it from Bromley mindfulness. Otherwise, it becomes more confusing if you've got online classes and you're teaching in person. So I wanted to differentiate it. Little did I know that the words 2020 would then become tainted in people's minds with such a difficult year. So what I've done is, towards the end of this year, I've learned a lot of things. One of the things that I've learned is that Facebook groups isn't the ideal place to teach a course on, because of lots of reasons. Administration's not useful, and so on. And the other thing that I learned is that there are actually systems that we can create a membership site on to run a course that are a lot more useful. And so I've done a bit of work in that area and set up a couple of websites. The other thing I learned is that the podcast, which had become the 2020 Meditation podcast, has both meditations on it and also talks and full classes. And that's not what people want. Folks would like to go to one place for talks and full classes and another place just to meditate. So because of that, what I've done is set up an extra podcast. So there are now two podcasts. One's called 2020 Meditation and the other's called the Meditation Course. The Meditation Course podcast will just be meditations. So what that means is you'll be able to go there, switch it on, and it will just move from one meditation to another. And all of the recordings and talks of classes and the meditations in those classes, full classes and talks, that will go on the other the other podcast, which at the moment is 2020 meditation, and in future will be the Loving Awareness podcast. So all of this is changing at the moment, so everything's in a little bit of flux, and I realise that certain things happen. I may fail to post on WhatsApp or some such when there's a class coming up, and I can't quite be as attentive to students' needs as I normally am, for which I apologise, but all of the changes are positive. Right, so then what are we left with for the meditation course? So the meditation course is an extension of what was the 2020 meditation course. And it has in it all of the back catalogue of classes and training from 2020. So we've got something like 50 classes. And of course that's growing by a class a week. So you get the live stream and you've got access to all of these classes. And the podcast, the meditation course podcast, will tie in with what I teach in the live stream. So you've got a really useful training resource. You've got all of the basic stuff going back to January 2020, how to meditate, and how to sit when you're meditating, how to rebuild your practice, all of that kind of stuff. And then many, many meditations. So that makes it completely different. As far as I can tell, you want to learn to meditate and you go onto a meditation course and somebody runs a 3-month class where you've got, generally speaking, recorded classes and you've done it and then that's it. There might be a sense of being part of a group of people in it while you're working through it, and then it goes away. And the thing about meditation, we dip into it and dip out of it. We dip out of it because life gets in the way. Simple as that. So anybody who is an experienced meditator finds themselves from time to time having to rebuild their practice. And so where do you come? You get another course. It's far better to have this constant group of people and constant training to plug into. So that's one thing that's different. The other thing that's different is I've actually run through my meditation repertoire in the past. And, I did this at the end of 2019 and figured out that I had a repertoire of about sort of 60 meditations, which is what caused me to want to do one per week, which is how we originally started. But then I actually looked at the meditations that very probably will not hear anywhere else. And one of the reasons you won't hear them is because they're meditations that I've devised. And not all of them. So some of them, for example, the ones that I teach in a different way, but they originated somewhere else. An example of that is what I call the meditation of no meditation, which I learned from Mingyur Rinpoche. And I think a number of us did when we went along to listen to him. I think it was back in 2018. And I realised that this is the softest and easiest way into meditation, and that's what I teach now, so that's transformed my teaching. But here's the meditations that I've devised. I can't find these anywhere. So there's always a concern that you've listened to one and adopted it as your own, but when I go back and look, they're not there. So these are the 410s meditation. The de-stress meditation is a kind of body scan, but it's a kind of body scan that people actually do. The body scan, which is so popular for mindfulness teachers, vast majority of their students don't do it. And then we've got the modern mind meditation, noting the quality of thought, the karma yoga meditation, the candle and the breath. The hypnagogic meditation, which I teach, is basically yoga nidra. There's the mountain stream. The mountain stream meditation, I'm sure somebody somewhere does a mountain stream meditation. I'm sure I'm not the only one. But the connection meditation that I teach is a combination of a Taoist visualization meditation that I did years ago and the Buddhist metta practice of appreciation and gratitude to all beings. So it kind of takes those two practices and welds them together. So these are pretty unique set of practices, and they're at the heart of the other practices that I teach, and I believe that I teach them in quite a unique way. People tell me that, and so there's an element of flavour to this. People choose a meditation teacher because basically it boils down to this: it's how they make you feel. So you do your meditation, and do you feel elevated? Do you feel calmer? Do you feel more focused, more relaxed, more neutral, less stressed, less worried, less anxious? Is it doing the things that we want? So that, in a nutshell, is the meditation course. So I have actually set up a subscription option. I think I've either set up or come very close to setting up the subscription option for it, and that will be £12 a month, British pounds, which is the equivalent of a Starbucks latte each week. So I think that's probably good value for money. And one of the other things that is reasonably unique, I believe, about me is that I teach the entry into the class in a very specific way. Because what I suggest is that you notice the sound of the bell moving through time. And that connection to the sound of the bell that's a frictionless way of becoming aware of the present moment. That's what we're noticing. The progress of the present moment through time. So let me do that one more time. So if you're relatively new, just sit comfortably and close your eyes. Listen to the sound of the bell, the movement through time. Carry on listening, but instead of just listening to the bell, listen to all sound. whatever it is you can hear, the hubbub of sound. Could be movements, voices in the building that you're in, traffic, the sound of neighbours. If you're fortunate, birds, the sound of water, the wind, the rain. And what we're listening to is the hubbub of the present moment. A hubbub is the sound of chatter when we can't identify the words. And that sound, the sound of all sound, we can notice it moving through time. And this is the most frictionless way of entering the present moment, of noticing the present moment. And then we can move from noticing sound. The sound is still happening in the background. And we can move to noticing the movement of the belly. Just at the point where the belly meets the chest. And this is a very specific practice, because we're not noticing the breath, we're noticing the movement that the breath causes. So for example, if you put your fingers on the belly, just at the point where the belly meets the chest, you're able to notice the movement of the fingers rising and falling. And so what we do there is focus entirely on the movement. But we're still aware of the passage of sound in the background. So the hubbub continues. So just noticing the belly rising and falling. And if we choose to do so, we can note the movement of the belly in our minds by using the inner voice to note the movement, saying in the mind, rising, falling, rising, falling. And what we're doing is maintaining our awareness of the passage of time. While we notice that, we're present, we're here, mindful. And there's no friction to this experience. Because there's no expectations, no goals, no trying. So meditation doesn't become a competition with the mind. And there's the hubbub still. Chatter, traffic noise, movement, sounds, and of course there's the sound of my voice. And so as well as noticing the passage of time through the sounds and through the breath, you can also notice it through the sound of my words. And so notice that waiting experience the experience of waiting for the next word causes your mind to notice the passage of time. And what you were doing is you were listening to the silence. You were listening to the movement of the present moment through the silence between the words. And so the hubbub is not just outside, it's not just what we can hear outside, there are also our thoughts. And we can listen to the sound of our thoughts. The way to do that for the next minute or so, repeat in your mind what I say. So I say it, you repeat it in your mind. I am listening to the silence between my thoughts. And so stop repeating now. So there's this hubbub, external sounds. There's the hubbub of the present moment, sensations, smells, tastes, sounds, feelings, thoughts, emotions. All passing through time. And at the center of it all is this tiny movement of the present moment. When we notice the movement of the belly rising and falling. And it's all changing. One sound becomes another sound. One thought becomes another thought. One feeling changes to another feeling. Smells to smells, tastes to tastes, sights to sights, emotions to emotions. All moving through time together. Just as though we're sitting by a mountain stream. In the centre of the stream there's a rock. So we're just sitting there noticing that rock. And all around is movement. There's a sensation of the wind in your hair, in your face, the hands. Movement of the grass in the breeze and the trees. The water constantly drifting past the rock. And all around you as you sit, there's movement. Birds circling and gliding on the breeze. Clouds moving across the sky, across the face of the sun, and then exposing it again. And the sun moving across the sky slowly. And right at the centre of it, there's you, noticing all of this movement all around you, and yet focused on the rock. So there's two things that are stationary. The rock and your awareness. And everything else around you, all of the inner, all of the outer phenomena, the feelings and smells and tastes and clouds and sun and birds and grass and wind and trees and creatures, all moving. Around your awareness. Just like the belly is moving. As you breathe in and out. Rising, falling. Tiny movement. So just going to spend a couple of minutes noticing that. Nothing else. Everything passing around us. And just like we're sitting there looking at the rock in the stream, we're sitting here noticing the movement of the belly. No difference. So we'll just spend a couple of silent minutes noticing that movement. If you notice thoughts arising, and they're getting in the way of your awareness of the present moment, when a thought arises, just note it. Note it has arisen. Just by saying in the mind, thinking, thinking. You can do that on 2 separate out breaths. Thought arises, first out breath, thinking. Second out breath, thinking. And back to noticing the movement of the belly. Noticing the belly rising, possibly noting that in our mind, rising, falling. And again, noticing the sound of the bell moving through time and gently returning your attention to your surroundings. Okay, so that's a little bit of an intro into the meditation course, plus kind of taster of the sort of meditations that I teach. I think that was a pretty classic Robert meditation training session. So what I'll probably do is this coming week on Saturday do another public session, and there's an extra weekend in January, unless I'm much mistaken. Let me just double check. Yeah, so the 30th, and what I'll do is similar to this, but about the Loving Awareness course, which is the other course that I'm running. Okay, so that's it for today. Hope you found that relaxing and that it was a good transition between, the working week and the weekend, and that means you'll have a calm and relaxing weekend. So have a great weekend, and back on Sunday, tomorrow evening, with the Loving Awareness meditation course for the Sunday evening meditation practice, and back again for the public this coming Saturday, the 30th. So bless you all, have a great weekend, and on YouTube, if you sort of like it and comment and all that good stuff, that's good for the algorithm, feeds the algorithm apparently, and so more people will hear about us. Thanks, John, and thanks, Kel. Have a great weekend. Thanks, guys.